What is up,
What is up,
everyone?
everyone?
Thank you
Joining
for
us here
joining us
on
here on
another
episode
episode
of
of
Shifting Lanes
Shifting Lanes
Garage. If you're
Garage. If
listening
you're
to us on
listening
a
to us on a
podcast,
podcast,
you're awesome,
you're
man.
awesome,
Thank you for
man. Thank you
listening.
for
And if you're
listening. And if
watching
you're
us,
watching us,
hello,
internet.
And if you're not
And if you're not watching us,
why aren't you?
Why aren't
be
you?
watching
You should
us.
be watching us.
Watch us on
Watch us on
Facebook
Facebook
and our second YouTube channel, Shifting Lanes
Garage.
Garage.
This is Shifting Lanes Garage.
I am Gregson.
That guy.
Nope,
Did it
nope,
wrong
did it
again.
wrong
That
again.
guy
That
is
guy is Chad.
We are here.
Back finally for the first time together, I believe, and then in the new year, or did we do it once and then we didn't? Because it seems like it's been a long time.
Honestly, I have no idea. It's been yeah, I fixed it, Doug, don't worry. This January is a blur because I've basically been sick for most of it. So
Yes, and now Chad has transmitted it to me via the interwebs because we haven't seen each other. But now I'm sick, so awesome. So if I sound a little nasally tonight or cough in your ear/face, I very much apologize for that. And yeah, we're all there. It is already. We are working towards feeling better, but it is winter in the Northeast, and basically we're all going to be sick until May.
So with that said, special kind of evil going around though. Like, I mean, excuse me. Let me put it to you this way: like, I worked with the general public during COVID, and more people I know are sick now than during the pandemic. So it's like,
yeah. I wonder why. It's almost like that stuff works.
No,
surgeons wear them for a reason. Wow.
Well, they wear the right
idea.
They wear the right masks, not like.
Oh, correct. Yeah, like none of this stupid crap you buy on Etsy. You have to wear not like a napkin on your face. You have to wear like actual stuff, like N95 plus.
Yeah.
Like that. Those actually work.
Yeah.
The stuff that everyone was buying off like Etsy and eBay, that doesn't work at all.
The
it
masks,
just makes your breath go this
way.
way.
The masks that we were provided at my old job were N95, like,
Oh yeah, that's the good stuff that actually works.
Yeah, like no, and not for nothing, I deal with far fewer people now than I did, working in golf. So, I'm almost.
I was not sick for 2 years, which is awesome. And now, I mean, I have 2 little germ sponge kids, so I just plan on being sick for the next better part of 18 years anyway. So it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, just another for any of you guys out there to just a reminder. Don't be a fool. Wrap your tool.
Yes, but thank you for joining us. We're here. We're going to talk some cars with you guys today. We got a couple of really cool news stories and one rant by Chad that I know is going to happen because we both are very passionate about the news that came out today in the racing sphere. So, Chad, how are you doing this fine evening?
I'm doing well enough to stream and create content again. It's been rough.
Yes,
I've been like, I am not the type of person that like can be idle at any stretch, like, and like being knocked on my ass for like a week and a half to be like, hey, I'm finally feeling fuck. Whole new thing. Like, I've never, yeah. I cannot remember ever getting smoked that hard. So I'm recovering. I'm doing better. Had a check engine light come on in the Mustang today. So like, I think it's the fuel filler neck, which is a thing
that's pretty common, I think, on Fords of your generation. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's another one of those like things that are like, I don't know, a bunch of people have had on the Mustang platform, just like the hood corrosion, and Ford's like, yeah, we're not going to issue a recall, so they can get fucked.
Ford has issued so many recalls. I think they're kind of picking those battles wisely at this point. They are the recall kings over the last 3 years, running for total recalls. Total vehicles was Honda last year with like 6 million, but they only issued 19 recalls. Ford issued 56, and weren't far behind at like 5.9 million.
Yeah, but
so
Ford also,
I don't think they're going to be like, hood corrosion. Nah, it's fine.
So Ford has a history of this. So I forget when it started, but it goes back probably, I think, almost 10 years. Like, I'm pretty sure you know this, but I'm almost positive Doug does because he is all-knowing and all-wise. But on F-150s, It is ridiculously easy to bypass the lock through the door handle and break into them. Like, doesn't matter if it's like
Yay,
a tradesman or a Raptor or a King Ranch or a Super Duty or whatever. Their door handle, like they're notorious for their door handles sucking. So, and then they actually did a small, like, I don't even know if it was a recall or if it was I don't know if they skirted recall by doing it. I think it was, well, it's not a recall because obviously it's still not active, but the corrosion on Mustang hoods has been a thing all throughout its history. And when I asked the dealership when I took it in to get the camera recall done, they're like, "Oh yeah, no, that was I forget what they called it, but it was like, yeah, you had to bring it in between these dates." I go, "Well, I didn't own the car at that time." Like, what? Like, so.
Yeah, there's no statute of limitations for a recall. It's a recall, and you really should, like, honor the recall or whatever. But I mean, I get it. It happens. It's fine. A quick hello to all of our watchers on stream, as well as a bunch of our supporters. We got Steve, we got Doug, we got Sean. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining, and thank you for listening and watching and just being generally awesome dudes. You guys rock. And again, apologies for our sick voices today.
Yes, but yours is bassy and buttery smooth. Like, you definitely got that radio voice going.
Yeah, I like to think this is my Phoebe Buffay sick singing Smelly Cat voice. Where she got like that record deal for sounding like very sultry and awesome for singing Smelly Cat. It's like, yep, this is my sick radio voice. Cool. I like it. I'm in. Oh, funny enough, hilariously enough, I work with someone who is absolutely obsessed with my voice. It's one of our clients. I know, I did the same thing. I'm just like, I don't think I have that great a voice. I mean, sometimes it can be cool. Like, if I really want to do like a voiceover, be like, "This is sponsored by," like, do something funny like that. But she's like trying to recruit me to do voiceover work for her pharma company, and I'm like, that's cool. I dig that. I'm down. So first time I've ever been complimented like that. So I thought it was pretty neat.
I mean, you should absolutely do VO. I mean, it's not like you have. It's not like you have a what you call it? Oh shoot. It's not like you have a background in being on camera or content creation.
That's right, yeah. And I've done voiceover for my company before, not the one that I work at currently, but a previous company that I worked at. So, I I've done a couple of voiceover things in the past. Nothing crazy, but definitely would love to do more. That'd be a lot of fun. Anywho, so you got a check engine light on the Mustang.
Yep, it's fine.
My Volvo that's riddled with Ford parts has no check engine lights, which is lovely. Riddled with phlebitis. Nixon. What a great random and so stupid character from Futurama.
Yeah.
So such a fantastic show.
Now, Sean wants you to train your voice to sound like Jeff Castellucci. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I'm gonna need an explanation on who that is, but I hope he has a buttery smooth, sultry voice. Is that the guy with the golden voice, or is it someone different? I remember that the homeless guy that had like the golden voice many years ago on the Get Discovered, and he does like a lot of voiceover work and stuff. Anywho, let's get into some car news because there's some interesting shit out there right now. like really, really interesting stuff. We'll start, Sir Chadson, with the first link I sent you. If you're cool with that.
I mean, I don't have a choice.
I mean, you do. There's another article we could go to if you really want to.
This is your world, Gregson. I'm just living in it. What are we talking about?
Yeah, that's right. Kickers will speak when spoken to. Ray Lewis. So
aren't you a marching? Like, I feel like that. It like kickers can speak before the marching band, though.
Yeah, marching band will speak when spoken to. Also, play music when we need to get hyped. Otherwise, shut up. That's basically what that was.
It's like high school marching bands. Play Game of Thrones or Eye of the Tiger. There is no different in between.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, the only reason I was in marching band in high school was to have some sort of extracurricular on my college application because I literally did nothing else. I was like, I don't care. I don't
Oh,
want
I
to do any of
remember.
this. I'm in band class. I could just be in marching band for free. I don't have to like practice. I don't have to do anything. I can just exist and it's fine. Half the games I didn't even play. I just marched around. I was like, no, this is fine, whatever.
Yeah, I remember. I remember my guidance counselor senior year. It's like, I don't know. I think we might need to look into your extracurriculars. I mean, and I'm like, so what you're saying is playing 3 sports, writing for the school newspaper isn't enough? And they're like, oh no, that's a lot. It's like it's good to see that you're paying
Brilliant.
paying attention. You
Yeah.
useless. And like the funniest thing was I interviewed her for an article I wrote on the girls' soccer team because she was the coach.
Well, there you go.
So, what's the news, Greg? What's new? What is interesting? And because I don't have the order of the articles in front of me, that's kind of why I'm stalling with this.
All good, no worries. So basically, the one thing I wanted to talk about was GM has been very public about their push for EVs. Mary Barra, the CEO of GM, has been like, we're an EV company now, yada, yada, yada. You've heard a lot of news about, is it true that companies are pulling out of EV production? Well, not entirely. They're just sort of pulling back a little bit. EVs are very expensive to make. Some EV companies are not doing too well. Polestar is actually included in there. Their stock is down 85 to 88% from its initial IPO. They missed margins last year. They were slotted to make, I think, 80,000 deliveries. They only made like 56,000. Don't quote me on those numbers, but I believe that's what I gleaned from another article. But GM is basically saying a lot of the same thing now. They are pulling back on their EV stuff, and they are now bringing back hybrids to North America, which a lot of people are very happy about. I think that it is a very smart decision because, well, there's not enough infrastructure and market to continue the EV onslaught right now. EVs, by and large, again, we've talked about it sort of ad nauseum on this podcast and stream. EVs are not the devil. They're not a bad thing. Their use case for certain people is very applicable. For me, for example, if I were to buy an EV, I think it'd be very good because I make a lot of short trips. I don't drive a long way for my job. I work from home. I'm basically just picking up my kids, running to the store, doing some errands, and I don't have to charge up every night. For someone like me, an EV makes a lot of sense. But for someone in the Midwest, it does not. Lots of long commutes. A normal commute for someone in Texas could be an hour, 2 hours to get to work, maybe longer. EVs do not really line up for that. Hybrids, however, do, because you get a lot more infrastructure because you can fill up a gas tank, but you also get that electric component to help give you extra range and better miles per gallon. So with that said, GM is bringing back hybrids to North America. It's a big push they're doing. They're sort of pulling back on that. And basically they are saying that I'll read you a quote from Mary Barra. Our forward plans include bringing our plug-in hybrid technology to select vehicles in North America. GM to eliminating tailpipe emissions from our light-duty vehicles by 2035. I don't believe that
is such a turnaround as opposed to all electric by 2035.
Yeah, well, and it was even sooner than that. Most of these companies were saying 2025 or 2030.
Yeah.
2035 is now, it's a big pushback. And then to finish the quote, but in the interim, deploying plug-in technology in strategic segments will deliver some of the environmental benefits of EVs as the nation continues to build its charging infrastructure. Now, that should have been what they've been doing since the beginning, quite frankly. It is something that we don't have the full infrastructure yet for EVs. And we've also talked about this with our friend Chad Kirchner, who came on and said we talked about the grid. You know, the grid stuff is sort of a myth. You know, not everyone is going home at night and just charging their car. Like that's not a reality. Also, if everyone did that now, it still wouldn't really do anything at this point. If everyone in the United States did that, yeah, sure, there'd be a problem. But even so, if we had 100% adoption right now, it still wouldn't be like really all that horrible because not everyone's charging their car at the same time. It's not like a reality. Not everyone comes in and would plug in their car at the end of the day just like they do their phone. It's a very different thing. Either way, this is sort of the stopgap approach that I was saying this is what we should be doing now is the hybridization. I know Chad, you were on board with that as well, but and everyone continues to laugh at me. I'm saying, look, it's going to be 50 to 100 years before EVs, if they were going to get to 100%, that's the time frame we're looking at. Infrastructure is not an overnight thing.
Here's another thing.
This hybridization is just it's like a soft open to a restaurant, if you will. And then the restaurant opens with, you know, in 10 to 20 years with full EV adoption. And okay, well, then that makes a lot more sense because you've had a decade or two of all of this building up. Before you say anything, we have to remember that Tesla released the Model S and was really the first mass adopted EV company only in 2012. So it's only been 12 years. We still need a lot more ramp up here.
Well, here's the thing. Elon Musk himself has sat here and said if there was a magic wand or a magic and you could just snap your fingers and all new cars were electric, it would take 25 years for the rollover to get to anything near 100% at adoption.
I would say it's even longer than that, just because of how good cars are now and how long they last. It would probably be more like 30, 35 years. Either way, 25 is a minimum.
Well, I mean, right. I mean, it's one of those things where, let's look at it. And not for nothing with like EV stuff, it was, it's all well and good that you can make an electric vehicle. But if you have nothing to support it, I mean, every day I see or I read something about how, you know, whether it be the EV issues in the cold in Chicago, whether it be people who have charging stations, kind of like a gas station, saying that we can't do this or this, you know, it just doesn't work or it's just not enough. Right? Like there's this weird sort of position we're in where I think we said that EVs are like 1 in 5 of every new car sold.
Yeah, it's up to like 20-25%.
You know, which is
1 to 5,
pretty crazy growth market share wise when you consider how new tech is usually adopted, especially such a departure from what we know. Like look at how fast, like, you know, how fast did flat screens become the norm in televisions, right? It took a while. I mean, there was cost issues and everything like that, and that's an imprecise comparison. But no matter how clever you make your electric car, you still need, like, the manufacturers aren't, if they really want their EV adaptation to continue to grow, and it seems like every auto manufacturer is starting to realize that, well, we saw this growth, but we didn't expect the plateau to happen this soon. Ford with the Lightning, now GM with this sort of stuff. That's just a couple of examples. It shows that either A, the demand in the marketplace isn't there, or, well, no, it does show that, right? That's pretty obvious. But as far as the reasons behind it, now there could just be people that live in a spot where EV doesn't make sense. It could be people that have issues with range or have issues with this. But convenience is where it's number one. And even if you do 90% of your charging at home, it doesn't matter. We're humans. We want that ability to go out, get our charge, say, during our lunch break or whatever. And if that sort of infrastructure type of stuff is technically, as far as from a volume of electricity is kind of there, the ease of access isn't there. And the manufacturers, Tesla's really the reason people got Teslas is because Tesla got it. They go, we're going to go soup to nuts. We're going to have your charging station at home. You get the car, and we have charging stations all around the country. So you now know that where the stuff is. General Motors electric car. Where do you go to charge an electric car if you don't have a Tesla? You know, we're in the automotive space, and I could think of like 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic to just hint on really quick, because Tesla's charging way is going to become the norm, because they have more of the infrastructure, the NACS system. That is going to be the norm moving forward, and if it isn't, there's going to be adapters that you can use, or that the companies will give you. And I think Doug and Chad has also hinted on this as well. It's going to be a for example, Polestar is going to have their own, I think, charging port, but also they're going to give you a NACS charger as well. Michael Christopher Blanton, what's up, Mikey? Good to see you, brother. As an old Subaru buddy. So yeah, it's interesting to see, because Sean made a great point in chat. Also, this is West Virginia where he lives. Our power grid is sketchier than leaving your car unlocked in Detroit. That's a great point, because certain grids are better than others. And while the overall grid argument overall doesn't make a lot of sense, locally it does make sense, because if you're in the mountains like Sean, you know, there needs to be a significant upgrade to a grid. Or if you just live in Texas, which the entire grid seems to be an absolute shit show. There are certain areas of the country where, and I'm sure in the world as well, that need to be drastically changed or drastically upgraded to even support a microcosm of what they're trying to achieve. And it is woefully inadequate at this point, even to support what we have currently. So,
right, and
that being said,
that's kind of the thing. It's what auto manufacturers are figuring out now is that we have reached the sort of, we've plateaued, and they've reached the growth limit of people who actively want an electric vehicle, right? I think there's 2 different types, right? There's people who want an electric vehicle, and someone who's like, I'm not opposed to one if it makes sense type of buyer, right? And I think the large percentage of EV buyers are someone who wanted that specifically. And
yeah,
I'll kind of end it here with, not for nothing, 1 in 5, 1 in 4. It's pretty nuts. That's crazy to think about, especially when you think about it's been 10 years. Let me put it this way. If we at Shifting Lanes have been around for roughly that about same amount of time, if we had 25% of YouTube market share, like, you'd be seeing Greg.
Pretty impressive.
You'd see Greg tap dancing naked on top of his Volvo. Probably 4 Volvos.
Yeah, I'd dance on top of my Volvo and then buy several more Volvos, and then buy a Pagani, in that order. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see the pullback, but I'm sort of glad to see companies are sort of coming to the realization of what a lot of consumers and people that are really in the trenches of the automotive industry, not these, like, you know, corporate bigwigs that really don't get what's going on, and they're just trying to please, you know, a headline as opposed to what consumers really want. You know, internal combustion will eventually go away. I mean, it might take 1,000 years, 2,000, whatever. It eventually will, because there is only a certain amount of oil in the earth. Eventually, that is going to run out. That is a fact of life.
Oh, God.
Chad just changed colors.
Yeah, what the fuck just happened?
But the whole thing is, like, you have to understand that it will run out eventually, but to prolong that, EVs are not necessarily the right path here. I think hybridization is, and I'm just refreshed to see companies starting to realize that. My family just arrived home. I have to step away to help with my boys for a minute.
There we
Chad,
go.
I think now might be now you're the right color.
I was in old-timey mode.
Yeah.
To add the
I shall return. Chad will give you his sultry voice for a little while, and I shall return.
All right, so just real quick, just catching up with you guys. Doug goes, Polestar as a brand is hard to justify. It should just be part of Volvo. See, number one, I agree with that in the sense that this brand deviation that you see a lot of. Now, for someone like, let's just say Genesis and Hyundai, it made sense, right? Like, because Hyundai, you don't think luxury when you think Hyundai. So having a luxury arm makes sense, right? Because the average consumer doesn't dig too deep enough to understand that, oh, Hyundai owns these guys, right? Just like the average Lexus owner doesn't really, they know Toyota's involved, right? So with Polestar, I feel like Volvo rushed the Polestar, whatever you want to call it, brand or whatever, because they went from being the race team to an EV brand with being the performance arm of Volvo, like that in automotive terms and automotive timing and stuff. Like they went from 0 to 60 and change. Like, I mean, they changed their mind more than a teenage girl looking at her closet, right? Like, yes, no, yes, okay, ooh, yeah, you know what I mean? And I feel Volvo, as far as a brand, is enough of, I don't want to say an upscale, right? I don't want to say that specifically, but I feel Volvo as a company, you could have had Polestar be a part of it and be a trim level, or whether it be just because it's not like Volvo isn't adopting electric. That's the thing that's weird, is because Volvo is adopting electric vehicles under the Volvo name, and then they also have these Polestars over here. You know, I think that if they wanted to make that uber luxury brand, sure, but I don't think Volvo needed it the same way Hyundai needed it. Michael just got off work. What's up? How you doing, buddy? Doug, the environmental aspect is better, sure. But they should focus how awesome EVs are, not pushing agenda stuff that only sells to a small market. I mean, I don't think, me personally, I don't think anyone anywhere should sit here and try to tell me what I can and cannot buy. The market might dictate what I can and cannot buy. All these different things, right? Like, if suddenly we started actually running out of gas, I'm not saying we are, not saying we're close, but just to use that as an example, if gas starts to get more expensive, well, then the market's now telling me that it probably should use this other form of transportation, i.e. electric, right? But for someone, whether it be in government or some bigwig saying, yeah, we're just going to be electric now. Well, it may not work for me, and I might go somewhere else. Or if it, in the government's case, it's, well, they can't get out of their own way. That's a problem, because I personally believe that they shouldn't have the power or the right to limit my mobility. Right? I should have the ability to get in my car and drive and get a 5-minute fill up as far as a tank of gas is concerned, not an hour-long fill-up as far as a tank of electric is concerned. All that other sort of stuff, right? If I want that car, I should have the ability to get it. If I want something else, I should have that ability as well. But to just force based on really no sound scientific reasoning or offering any other sort of alternatives, that's the other thing that gets me a lot with this stuff, is we have companies looking into synthetic fuels. Why not? If you can make synthetic fuels, less dependence on fossil fuels, and you have hybridization and you sort of merge, well, then the end product is just 100% better. Well, not 100%, but you get what I'm trying to say. Michael goes, the only EV I'm interested in is the EV motorcycles, like the Harley Livewire. I mean, to a point, that makes a ton of sense, because motorcycle isn't going to be your absolutely every single day vehicle. So you just enjoy it. Just like EVs aren't 100% use case when it comes to the automobile, right? Whether it be you have longer than average commute, whether it be you going on a road trip, whether it be you do a lot of driving, say you're in like sales or something to that effect, so to me, there's a similarity there. Sean goes, Sean asks, does Tesla still have panel gaps large enough to hide a credit card machine in? Tesla's QC is still pretty awful, which again is mind blowing to me, given their popularity, given their sort of whatever you want to say as far as like they're leading the electric vehicle charge kind of a thing, and yet all of their buyers don't seem to really care too much that the quality control, body panels and paintwork should be the easy part, right? And they don't seem to be able to get it, which is concerning. But the cult of Elon, just like the cult of Steve Jobs, there's more of a lifestyle-y type of thing going on than just a mode of transportation. Michael, again, I'm surprised that I haven't seen someone take a Tesla and put the solar panels on the roof to keep them charged. Solar panels are not nearly efficient enough to do that. Most of the cars you see with solar panel roofs are there to run like ancillaries, whether it be fans for your HVAC. I think Toyota did it with a Prius, and I know other companies have as well, where they put a solar panel on, and during hot days, it would actually run an HVAC thing so that your car wasn't roughly the temperature of lava when you got back into it. But solar panels in general, let me put it to you this way. You would need a lot of sun and a long time to charge these cars. Just Google solar powered car, and they're these lightweight composite vehicles with extremely skinny tires for less rolling resistance. They're incredibly aerodynamic for less drag and things of that nature. And that's like the pinnacle of solar powered cars. You could maybe get 1% or 2% out of it by charging the battery, but it's one of those things where you're going to see a lot of big office complexes. Well, corporate real estate in general has been going down a lot, but these big business parks where you have business XYZ, A, B, whatever, you've already started seeing it, and you're going to see a lot more of it where they have charging ports as part of the facility. And obviously that's a lot more efficient than that. Sean, I haven't seen any EVs where I live. I suspect once you climb some of these hills or mountains, you got to juice up. There's a lot of also, how do I put this? A lot of it with like EV stuff. There's a lot of there's also a geopolitical kind of a thing going on. You're not going to see in West Virginia, especially the hills of West Virginia, tend to lean more to the right. And that side of things is less willing, I shouldn't say willing, but that political side of the thing does not buy EVs in the same volume that the left does. That could be a part of it. It could be a part of just power. It could also be the simple fact that, yeah, you can charge an EV at home, but the density of outside car charging ports just isn't there. So it may not be set up for it. And again, that goes back to the conversation we were having before about how they've kind of plateaued out and they've done next to nothing, the big traditional auto manufacturers, next to nothing to build, again, infrastructure, ability to charge, to kind of alleviate the concerns that a lot of people have. Because whether it's founded or unfounded, people have concerns. And if you can't come up with a reasonable way of quelling those concerns, people aren't going to buy your product. It doesn't matter if they're unfounded. It doesn't matter if they're wrong. It doesn't matter if 0.05% of the time their concerns are actually going to be valid. They have the concerns. And we still live in a society where I have money. I can go buy what I want. It's not like we're being, okay, you work in this field. Okay, here's your government, or here's the vehicle you can have, type of a society. So, that goes back to clever marketing. It goes back to whether you're reading the room correctly. And I think a lot of Ford and GM, the two biggest with this sort of thing, did not read the room correctly. They did not look at that and say, okay, how many interested buyers are there out there that want electric vehicles? They simply looked at, oh, it was at 12%, 18, 20, 25. Okay, it's going up. Let's make more. And they didn't happen to see that maybe that 25% of car sales that were buying EVs was 85 to 90% of people who wanted EVs. So the people who want your vehicle is shrinking, and you're making more. Like, that's, again, business or what have you. Doug, there are actually more locations for non-Tesla charging, though just Tesla has more per location. Oh, absolutely. It's just one of those things where is there a Chevy charging station? Is there a Ford charging station? Like, Tesla did it, and they're like, hey, buy our car, charge at home. Or we have all of these that are definitely going to work with your car. That's the type of thing. And again, it goes back to perception of, hey, they're doing what they can to make sure I can go where I want to. Whereas the other manufacturers are just relying on, like, I think it's like Charge America or whatever. I don't know the exact branding. But they're relying on a third party to do it, which has been the norm in the automotive industry for almost a century. Where a third-party fuel provider puts it into a gas station, you put it into your car, and you go. It's not like there's a Ford gas station. But with EVs, it's different because you're selling someone something different, and they have a perception that there's not enough. And if you're Tesla, you say, hey, we have all these charging. Ford goes, well, you can use this and that. And Doug will back me up. The more you talk in sales as a salesperson, the less likely you are to make said sale. So the more you have to explain, well, you can go to this company, you can go to here. There's actually more than Tesla or what have you. You have to go this, that. But the more you have to explain to someone who, say, isn't necessarily in the market for an EV, they're just in the market for a vehicle, and an EV just happens to be on the list of cars they're looking at. The more you have to talk about it, the more they're going to be like, this isn't really worth it. Where's the hybrid? Where's a normal car? I don't want to deal with it. Let's see here. Doug, again, quality control on non-Tesla has been a challenge. Sean, BMW seems to be pushing hydrogen. Historically, that hasn't worked so well for the Germans. Here's the thing. If you can figure out hydrogen fuels, if you can figure out how to do hydrogen fuel cells and how to do it cost effectively, it's personally, that's the electrification kind of figured out. Because what's the most abundant resource we have? Hydrogen. Where can we get hydrogen? Walk over to an ocean, get some water. It's obviously not that simple, but it's pretty easy to get hydrogen. And the humanity as far as, hydrogen, because hydrogen is naturally a gas, whereas gasoline, it will off gas, but it takes time. But again, think of it this way, right? When the internal combustion engine was first introduced in mass, or as a new technology, the existing steam-powered cars, which literally have an open flame in your vehicle, jumped on them and called them explosion engines, as far as a way of shooting down the new technology. So, I mean, here's the thing. I always thought hydrogen was a great idea because you can use it as a stopgap between internal combustion and electrification. I know Ford was specifically, because they did it with the Focus, and I had a Focus at the time, but they're messing with hydrogen in internal combustion. Now, there's a lot of reasons why hydrogen is great. It's more energy dense, you get a bigger bang for less volume, etc., etc. The downside is it doesn't have any of the heat dissipation properties that gasoline or E85 or synthetic fuels have. So it's like we've mentioned all the time, and as I'm sure a lot of you guys know, fuel is the first line of coolant. Fuel, that's why E85 is so popular in performance applications, it's not necessarily because the octane is super high. It's because you need 30% more hydrogen to make the same boom as gasoline. So you're putting more in that can pull more heat out, and therefore you can do your risk of knocking isn't as high. So therefore you can run more aggressive timing. You can run more boost if you're on a boosted application or things like that. You can run more compression and if you're going an NA route. Like there's just more because it's cooling things down, and that risk of detonation isn't quite there like it would be with equivalency in gasoline and things like that. Michael goes, I don't mind EVs, just keep them out of the trucking world. I mean, I don't know enough about that to have any sort of opinion on it. It is what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, again, it goes back to what I was saying about I don't like the idea of having my mobility limited or being dictated to me by, by the government. Same should apply to our supply chain, which we saw got smoked. And if, you're sitting here and electric trucks can't do the job the same way as the diesel trucks are doing, etc., that's a problem. So all things need to be considered into that. Sean goes, Chad was just getting powered up. Don't worry. I'm missing the context there. Doug goes, I have a solar panel on my XC70 to act as a trickle charger. Also to park in green parking spaces. I mean, all makes sense as far as a trickle charger is concerned, makes abundant sense in a vehicle. Sean, you might be able to get 200 watts from the surface area of a car roof, and that's not much in the grand scheme. Again, talking about solar power to charge cars. Doug goes, being pro-EV as a constitutional libertarian feels like being pro-automatic rifle tem. Here's the thing. Should we be looking towards our future? 100%. Should we be looking... But I've talked about this before. Oil is in the Middle East. You know what else is over there? And you know who else is gobbling it up free of charge just to build infrastructure? Lithium is over there. And China's gobbling it up. So my fast rising as my list of let's kind of reconsider how we do electric vehicles because, let's just look at the world, right? That's why I think sodium ion could become a thing if we put in there. There's other methods, as Chad when he was on, or Chad Kirchner mentioned when he was on here and things of that nature. But it's the biggest issue I have is that everybody was like everything into EV. And that's just not how things work. That's not how innovation is made. That's not how you progress as a society. You have multiple options, and whatever's the best option, whether it be best option for short term, best option for midterm, best option for long term, those things tend to prevail. And yes, there will be overlap and things of that nature, but to sit here and say, nope, we're not worried about hydrogen, we're not worried about synthetic fuels, we just want electric vehicles and this is when we want them by, is incredibly short-sighted, which should come as really no surprise with this with government. But you have to take all things considered and see what comes out on top, because that's just the best option for the populace and for the world as a whole. Sean goes, I don't really care what you drive as long as you're a reasonable person. Agreed. I don't care. Let's just say someone comes up and they drive a Mustang and they're an incredible douchebag. I could give a fuck. Go away. I don't want to deal with you. The same token, I've met awesome people who are in the import scene. But I was actually watching Joe Rogan's stand up, and he was using it as far as like vegans and things like that. But the general premise was, if you put 100 people, like-minded people, in a room, what are the odds that one of them is an idiot, one of them is an asshole, etc., etc.? It's pretty freaking high. And so every group has that. But my general thing is, don't drive like an asshole. Don't be an asshole. And foster enthusiasm. You know, I've told stories about how I've been parked and had some import guy come up to me and be like, oh, I got a little something for you, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, it's like, okay, that's great. I'm glad you love cars. I'm glad you worked on your car. I'm glad you decided to turbocharge it. I'm glad you put your heart and soul into this. Like, that's really cool. We need more people like you. Enthusiasm. But if you're going to come over here and your first act is to shit on my car, well, it's great that your K24 has a turbocharger on it. I'm also running boost. So how far down this rabbit hole do you really want to go? You know? And like, that's the thing. I'm sure if we did a Shifting Lanes car show or meetup, the range of vehicles or type of vehicles that would be there would be pretty diverse. And I think that's fucking awesome. It's where, you know, because I like to think our little group that we've kind of cultivated and put together and done all that has some pretty awesome people in it. So I'd rather do that and sit here and have, you know, let me put it this way. I'm not trying to single you out, Doug, but I know you have a sort of an eclectic taste in cars, which I don't necessarily like. Some of your cars, great. That's awesome in a kind of kitschy, cool way. Other of them, it's like, if you love it, that's great, but it's not my first cup of tea. But Doug, awesome dude, would gladly sit here and talk to him about his car, even if it's not one of my first choices of cars. Let's see here. Let me just catch up and finish with chat, and then I think we have a Gregson who is on his way to return. Let's see here. Sean goes, I drove two 30-year-old shit boxes. What room do I have to judge anyway? It's not that. Someone shows up in a freaking Koenigsegg at like a car meet. If they're a real deal, true-blooded car guy, they won't look down at the guys with the imports or the muscle cars or anything like that. They just happen to have a really awesome vehicle that's cost way more than everything else that's there. But there's something also pretty cool about keeping a shit box running and making it yours. That's, to me, what's most important about car culture is making it yours and the passion behind it and not being a jackass. Doug goes, other than the Leaf, it's pretty much all CCS. Sean goes, it's kind of like computers or phones. You're almost buying into an ecosystem. Yeah. Doug goes, yeah, I tried explaining mild hybrid. It's not what anyone who wants a hybrid wants. And the word hybrid scares the folks who just want gas. They make it hard for sales, as you say. Yeah, like I remember the Ram 1500 in 2019 when it first came out with mild hybridization. People are like, I don't need that. What the hell's it doing on my truck? Anthony, what's going on, man? How you doing? Steve, welcome back. Steve, what happened to Gregson? He had to take care of some stuff at the house. He should be returning shortly. Yes, he is. He has faithfully returned. Steve goes, I drive a CRV. I'm a big douche. I mean, no, because, again, is it the car you want? Is it the enthusiast vehicle you want? Is it the weekend fun car that you want? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. But you're a decent person.
But that doesn't make you a douche.
But you're a decent dude. And if you go to a car show or something like that and you're hanging out with other decent people, you have a good time and all that other sort of stuff.
What makes you a douche is what Chad just said. If you roll in a Koenigsegg and then think that your shit doesn't stink, that's what makes you a douche. Right. If you roll in a CRV and say, oh, I really love cars and talk to like-minded people, that means you're a car person. The end. Right.
And here's one thing I will say. I used Koenigsegg as an example, but even to kind of go a little deeper into that, act like the head of Koenigsegg, Christian von Koenigsegg. We've
Oh
met
yeah,
him.
he's
We've talked to him. He is
the
an
best.
awesome dude. We've talked to him multiple times. He is an awesome dude. If you had no clue who he was, you wouldn't know that he was building some of the most insane hypercars the world has ever seen. Right?
Yeah,
So if you
it
own a car
is.
like that, be like him.
Yeah, it's very cool that he has said on record in journals, if you had 1 gallon of gas left in the world, what car are you putting it in? And he said his Miata. If that doesn't speak volumes for what kind of car person he is, he builds literally his last name. He builds Koenigsegg's, some of the most exclusive hypercars on the planet. And he says, I'd put it in my Miata because it's just pure driving joy. That's all you need to know about the guy right there. Like, he is a car person. The end.
Yeah.
That's the full stop.
100%. Doug, 100 is the average IQ. When you have an IQ a fair amount higher than 100, seems pretty dumb, right? You have to realize the average person is average at best. Oh, the honesty of wine. And then he goes on, I've owned 2 Mustangs, so we can't be that far apart. Yes, but the number of AMCs, Volvos, and other types of vehicles vastly outnumbers the total number of vehicles I've ever owned. Doug goes, Steve needs to come to Carlisle this year. Anthony agrees. Steve can't even pronounce Koenigsegg. Anthony had a creative way of spelling Koenigsegg.
I think that's the Top Gear way.
Yeah.
Putting zag, zag, zag,
Yeah,
zag, 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 zag.
Oh, God, every time someone says Top Gear or talks about old Top Gear, the more I want to, like, Greg and I talk all the time of, like, what do we do next week? What do we do in 3 months? What are our plans for the year, next year, et cetera, et cetera. I still want to do, like, a show that talks news, has a guest. We talk that, and then we send them out with, like, and then we have, like, I'd love access to a track, but probably a go-kart track, and have a leaderboard and stuff like that, and just talk about it. Like, and this hasn't been helped by the fact that DDE just moved into the old Hoonigan building, and they're like walking around
Yep.
like, oh, I would do this, I want to do that, and I just look at the space and I'm like, I need that. But
Yes.
hopefully
So,
in 2026,
we'll keep playing,
the shifting
we'll
lanes
keep playing the lottery.
the shifting lanes HQ becomes a reality.
That's right. It's the 3 to 5 year plan.
They also
Thank you, Doug, for the 100 stars. Old Top Gear, but on a budget. Yes, here is your budget.
Nice.
$1.
I love it.
I'm very much okay with that. It will get us probably 700 yards, and then our gas will run out.
I'm here for it. Doug goes, I drove all the way to Huntington, West Virginia for a car show, so Sean has no excuses. Any excuses you have, please present to us so we can overcome them. Yeah, I mean, that's also another thing. As much as, like, we've been talking about, like, obviously I know the last time I think we were all together, we talked about, like, a shifting lanes meetup for the winter. Well, obviously shit kind of hit the fan for a couple different reasons. And it's definitely something I want to do. But that's the other thing. As many of you guys can, like, come and hang out and, like, do things like Carlisle. It's kind of like a thing that's established. That type of stuff I really look forward to. Sean goes, I want to put the Koenigsegg engine in my Volvo. Well, here's a fun fact. Original Koenigsegg motors were loosely based off of Ford mod motors. They were just twin supercharged. So if you twin supercharge a Ford mod motor that's been built, you kind of sort of have a Koenigsegg engine for not $1.7 batillion. And then we got to Doug for the Top Gear budget. That is fantastic. All right. Before we kind of dive into our next news topic, Greg is going to regale you guys with one of his favorite car things, stories. Greg, the floor is yours.
Well, I can give an update on the 240, which is interesting. So as you guys know, that we have two 240s. One with our good buddy of the stream, Aaron, who is part of Valhalla. If you don't follow his Facebook page, please go follow it. He's going to be ramping up on what he's doing. So Aaron Whitesell. If you're watching, we know that we're working on the green one together, so that one is in progress. We have an engine to swap into that one. And we have a couple of other things up our sleeve for that one as well. We're going to do a full short form series on that. So whenever you guys start seeing those videos, you'll get one every week, or maybe even every couple of days when we finally do roll that out, which is going to be cool. Hopefully it'll be this spring. And then we'll drive that car around. Maybe I'll keep it. Maybe I'll sell it. Not sure yet, but we'll see. But it's going to be very cool because it's a green all over tan Volvo, which is one rare, and green over tan is my dream spec for basically any car. So that'll be cool to see. But the long form, or the long play on the Magic Blue one that I was scammed on. I did a short form video on that yesterday because and my hope was to get, well, one, views, because that's the whole point of why we do this, but also to get some more notoriety on it because since we've been doing his short form stuff, not a lot of people know about that build. So more people know about the green one, obviously, when we roll that series out on short form, but most people that we are gaining traction with, like, and again, not a humble brag, but we're growing very rapidly on some platforms. On TikTok, we have over 36,000 followers now. We just hit 85,000 today on Instagram, which is just bananas to think of. We were only at 9,000 last April, which is crazy. So we're growing really, really well on Instagram, which is cool. And the whole hope was, because we're growing so much on those two platforms, I was hoping to get some more notoriety, not to bash Nick, but mostly to see if anyone else could help, because I know Jesse Wildman has saved that car. He's holding on to it for us. He's not he can do the build, but it's going to cost a lot of money. I'm trying to keep it on a budget because I gave Nick 10,000 plus. It's actually more like close to 14 or 15 with everything all in, including like refinishing the wheels, shipping the cars, and everything like that. So with all that said, he scammed me out of $10,000. Jesse Wildman picked it up. It would then cost more money, and he's never done a full rebuild like that, which is fine. Jesse is more of a white block guy, but he can do it. It would just probably take him longer than needed, and probably more money because it would take more labor hours, because we're not doing the same deal that I had with Nick. That being said, the whole reason for this rant was to make a video about it and see if anyone else in the Volvo community maybe popped up, didn't know about it, was wondering where the build was, and they finally saw it. And lo and behold, there are a couple people that have commented on that video, which now has, as I'm looking at it, over 19,000 views, which is pretty average for us on Instagram these days for views. But for a project car and for a personal car, that amount of views is very good. So it's up near like the top of, like, oh, if I did a video on like a Polestar or random cool fun fact, that would be near the top of like what those views would be. So we got some people reaching out on there. There's a guy named Jesse, funny enough, who lives in Tucson, Arizona. His account is Volvo's Ruined My Life on Instagram. So go follow him if you haven't done that. He said would love to help if you need it. So reached out to him. I'm going to try to get in touch over the next few days to see if what he can do, if he can do anything, and if we can potentially work together, or what it would cost. Just again, have a conversation on it. So the 240, the long-term 240, is potentially moving forward. If there is an opportunity to do a white block swap, then I'm interested in that too. But again, it has to make sense financially, because no matter any way I slice it, I'm going to lose money on the car, even if I build it up and then sell it, or even build it up and hang on to it. I don't see this car ever being a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 car. Not that it would cost that much, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I don't believe I'm going to ever make money on it. That being said, if we can make it into what I originally planned on, that might be very cool. So we will see if that's a possibility. So that is the update there. I'm not sure if there's anything else really to talk about, but I'll keep you guys posted. I'm hoping by if everything works out, end of this year into 2025, to get that car in my possession and back on the road. I think that'd be very cool. And Steve, I know, just said sue Nick. One, I don't know where he is, and no one really does. He has turned into this sort of vigilante that helps recover stolen cars and screwed over basically the whole Volvo community. So I'm at this point not interested in contacting him ever. And I'm not interested in him contacting me ever. Um, I have his number. I've reached out multiple times. I've been ghosted. Um, if I ever see him on the street, I will probably start a fight with him. But other than that, I'm not interested in ever talking to him or seeing him again. I know a lot of people said to get, litigation involved, but even if we could find him, one, there are people already trying to sue him for the stuff that they had. They had contracts with him, like signed contracts. I did not, because it's a YouTube thing. I was trying to do a what's it called? A budget build, and the whole thing was he provides labor, I provide parts in the car. So the labor was free. So no one else is going to do that, I don't think. And it's not worth me going after. Plus, I have bigger fish to fry. I have two young kids that I'd much rather put my time into, and getting into a legal dispute with someone, not really going to help that. And you guys are awesome. You already donating. Thank you so much. Doug, 690 stars sent. Divide by 10, losing money on cars is cool. 690, thank you. Nice. Steve, 100 stars sent for the Volvo budget build. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. So yeah, thank you so much for the support. You guys are awesome, and even for just sticking with it for so long. I really want to get like this car back on the road. And Doug with another 500 stars party. Thank you so much. Oh man. Oh yeah, Sean, you missed it. Legal dispute. What drama did I miss? With my 240, the long-term 240 that I have, that's a magic blue. Go on our Instagram page. I just did a video on it yesterday if you want the full story. And if you want to go on TikTok, if you do have TikTok, even if you don't, you could just go on it on the internet, online, and watch it from there, which is the full story, because each platform has different times. So TikTok allows you longer times. So that's a full like 2-minute video explaining what happened. Instagram and Facebook get a minute and a half, and then YouTube Shorts gets only 60 seconds. So I cut it down in 3 different ways. The longest way to watch that is on TikTok, but Instagram will give you the basics. Thank you so much again, Doug, for the 500 stars for the build. You guys are awesome. I'm continually chuffed by your guys' support. So it really means a lot, and it hits home, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you, really, honestly. And again, sorry for not being more excited. Again, also still very sick. Not very sick, but not really. I'm still under the weather. So what's that line from Lion King? Pardon me for not jumping for joy, bad back, head cold, But Sean, to finish answering your question, basically a builder out in Washington State, in Portland, named Nick Haas. He had a what's it called? He had a shop called RBP, Red Block Performance, and he was known over there for being a little shisty, but from what I had gleaned from other people too, it was about a 50-50 shot with people getting good reviews from him and people getting bad reviews from him. So I mean, it was I went in with the knowledge like, hey, we could get labor for free. It could be a cool budget build. It seems like you have the capacity to do this. Let's try to build your business. We'll get a cool car out of it, and that's a mutually good relationship. And this is something I've said multiple times. Nick had actually come to me when we started it, and I apparently tripled his business, which was great. And that was the whole point of it, to get him more notoriety, to have people come to him to work on the cars, and we get a cool car out of it. We get videos out of it, and that made us a couple $100 on those videos, which is great. But it's one of those things where it just didn't work out. I lost contact with him. He basically closed up his shop, became a vigilante to help the police recover stolen cars. That became his passion project, and he basically closed up shop and said, "Screw the Volvo community," and never told anyone. Honestly, like I think he told like 2 or 3 people. Jesse Wildman being one of them. He reached out to Jesse and said, "Here's my stuff. I'm leaving the scene." But for the people that were building his stuff, he never reached out to me and said he was closing a shop ever. He basically just contacted Jesse and said, "Here, you can take these cars." So, pretty scummy thing to do, pretty cowardly thing to do, and yeah, that's the long and short of it. But people are saying that I should sue Nick. One, I don't want to find him. Two, I have 2 young kids and a family to take care of, and getting into a legal battle over it, and dragging both Chad and Hansen into a legal battle because it would be a business thing, not something I'm very much interested in. Yes, it's a $10,000 loss, but you know what? We are growing rapidly on multiple platforms, and our budget is growing. Not a lot, but enough to be hopeful that, hey, maybe next year we could really like do a proper car build with a good builder, if we wanted to.
We've done that. Mustang,
No,
Blue Sky.
but I mean like a pooled thing if we really wanted to. Like if we wanted to like buy a classic car chassis and give it to Jesse and Jeff, like if you even just you and I, if we pooled our money, like we could potentially do that, I think, next year. If we wanted to. However, there's other things we want to do too. Like Chad said, we want to do a Shifting Lanes headquarters. We also want, I want a sports car if we have the budget for that.
Right.
We have the 240. We have two 240s to get going. So like, there's a lot that needs to happen between
Right.
X and Z.
And like,
or between A and Z.
I
so
want to get
it's
the Mustang done.
it's one of those things.
I want to get the carbon roof on her. I want to get the bumper addressed, like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like your
But,
car's
like,
not
after that
finished.
No,
Like,
it
you need to
never
at least
will
get
be.
to a
It
place
never
where you
will
want.
be finished because like,
Right, but phase one finished. Like,
well, phase one was the headers ticket. We're on like phase 12.
I figured phase one was built by Blue Sky and aesthetics. Phase two is like, okay, if you really want to like that, to me is like your full phase one build. It's sort of what you envisioned when you bought the car. Phase two is like, okay, I've now completed phase one. How can I expand on this? Okay, let's push it to like 1,400 horsepower. Let's get like a power glide in there and turn it to a drag car. Like that, something like that. Like that to me is like phase two.
Right. Well,
like in that sense.
Here's the top tip. Unless I have so I get that. Like power.
At least in my brain, that's how it works.
In my head, it was power, aesthetics, and then tick other stuff off. So like eventually I want like a really good set of coilovers on it. Eventually, even though it's probably not necessary, you as someone who's driven it can definitely attest to it. Eventually I want to put GT350 brakes on it.
Right.
All that other sort of stuff. But phase one was power, phase two is aesthetics, phase three is sort of like the finishing touches. I will say this, unless I get for example, unless I get a car that I can throw, I really want to do a 5.4 Coyote. I don't know anyone who's really doing that at the moment, other than Multimatic and the race car that they just debuted at Daytona last weekend. But I would love to do an NA build, say maybe even like a Fox body, but have it, maybe figure out a way, if it's doable, to have S550 underneath, independent rear suspension, limited, all that sort of stuff. So it looks retro and cool, but underneath it, it's really an S550. Again, the wheelbases don't really match up. The widths aren't the same, all that. But in theory, that's kind of where it is. If I was to do a full on drag car, I would probably not do the Mustang. I have too much fun driving that Mustang, way too much. So I would start with a blank slate. Now I understand that's $150,000 sort of compromise, but it can be done in stages. Look at what Cletus did with Ruby, right? They maxed out
it was never all at once.
And as the popularity of the car increased, then they started making modifications and things of that nature and all that other sort of stuff. But not to belabor the point or anything. Doug, no, not a 5.4 Triton, a 5.4 liter Coyote. Right now, the biggest crate motor you can buy from Ford or any of the other people who are doing builds with the Coyote block, so there's a lot of engine builders out there, is 5.2 liters. Ford, for the GT3 car, punched the Coyote out to 5.4 liters. So that tells me that it can be done. Thanks for the stars again, Doug, towards the body on white Mustang.
Doug needs to drink more wine during these.
Yeah,
streams.
we need to send him a case of. What's the? I just watched the thing. Oh, this is gonna bug the crap out of me. But it's the other. So you know how like there's Trader Joe's and then there's another sort of grocery store that's basically the same people, but they have different philosophies. It's actually a cool story behind it, but I won't bore you guys with it. But like,
sounds like a fat electrician video.
it is. Well, it's his second channel, the Fat Files.
I knew it.
Long story short, these two Germans made a grocery store after World War II. Wildly successful. The whole premise of it is not like your traditional grocery store to, where milk is in the back corner in the recesses of the thing. It's get in, get out, and move on with your life, right? And there was these two brothers. And then eventually one brother wanted to start selling cigarettes. The other brother didn't like that, so they split. And they made two stores. And that's where Trader Joe's and the other one comes from, because you can't have two brands under the same name in America.
Yeah. Really quick. I just wanted to mention something. Sean in chat tagged Anthony, and said Balthazar doesn't need his engine. LOL. If Greg needs anything, honestly, I don't need anything. The car, the long-term 240 has an engine. It has a turbo. It has headers, has a Japanifold. It has a trans. It just needs to get like wired up, but because it has a turbo and because it's an NA plus turbo build, it needs to get like properly built and fabbed up. It needs to get tuned, and Jesse Wildman, again, really knowledgeable Volvo guy, could figure it out. But if there's someone that could do it, that just knows how to do it and could do it cheaper, then I'm much more interested in that. So
okay, so not to
it has everything it needs. It also we need to figure out the wiring. I don't know if there is wiring done. I don't know if it's a full harness. It needs to get like sorted. So it's there, but it just needs to get it needs a proper red block rear wheel drive Volvo person to sort of dive in and really figure it out.
So it's just the engine at this point. The interior is in, suspension, brakes, all the other sort of stuff's in.
Yeah, so suspension, brakes. So it has a big brake kit upgrade from an R, from a
Right.
P2R. It has an IPD suspension kit. It's got Bilstein shocks on it. It's got a lowering springs. It's got a panhard bar. It's got sways. It's the interior's in, carpeting's in. It needs new headliner. It's been insulated. I believe it has a new heater core, but that I don't know. But again, that can also be sourced. So, I'm
just spitballing here. Now, there's obviously two parts to it. I mean, probably the simplest and easy thing is to kind of punt it, right? Like, sell it. This is what it needs to build. Needs to be finished. Here's the parts that are on it. Let someone out in the Pacific Northwest take it on.
Right. So to me, that's why I brought up this other person, Jesse, who was from Tucson. While you were gone, I reached out to him on Instagram because he had commented on that and said, "Hey, I'm a rear wheel drive Volvo specialist. Let me know if you need any help." So I reached out to him today. I'm going to send him big pictures of like everything we got and be like, "So here's what I got. What do you think?" But it has most of the stuff. I need someone to figure out. He's in Tucson, so that shipping is not bad. Like from Portland to Tucson would probably be under $1,000, which is something that I can't afford. Bringing it back out here as it sits is going to be close to $2,000 to $3,000 because it's a non-runner. It has enough parts that you wouldn't be able to fit the engine and the trans in the back with everything that's needed. So it's one of those things where if there's someone out west within reason that we could send it to, and it's done on a budget, then yeah, we could make it work.
Interesting, because I mean, it's high time that
Yeah.
that thing either became a thing or was no longer a thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not destroy it, but like something you specifically, because it's not like I lose sleep over that. Like, Greg's 240s, man. But like,
I know.
but like, it is one of
It's
those
not one of
things
those
that's like
things
a
that you're
constant
like-
thorn, because it's like, it's such a cool project. It's such a cool car, and you know, it did really well for us as far as the channel is concerned. Now I understand we've sort of shifted, no pun intended, as far as as
Yeah.
far as our content and things like that are concerned. But it was just, I figured if it's, I mean, wiring, like, so I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just saying, if it were me, if the thing can theoretically has all the stuff, and let's just say you don't have a headliner, not a problem. Ask Brian Scotto. His Roughwell 911 didn't have a headliner for years, right? And
Right,
it's part of
right.
it, and honestly, that's like kind of like part of the charm, right? Like, you could even sit here
Sure.
and say like, okay, I'm gonna rip the insulation off the top of it and have like a graffiti artist paint, you know, on the headliner, kind of like do like a down and dirty sort of Starry Night Rolls Royce, but like in a much more like real person kind of way.
Budget Starry Night, yeah. Just like taking like a click pencil and just like shoving it through the ceiling a bunch of times, making holes.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, if people were going to look up and see the Starry Night in a Rolls Royce, I think it would be kind of cool to see some like interesting art.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
like,
that'd be cool.
you
Like
know,
graffiti bomb it. That'd be cool.
You know, it's just one of those things where that car is like got such a hold on you. And what I mean by a hold is like there's a lot of financial investment into it. There's a lot of
Right.
It does have value, right? And next
Yes.
week, guys, Steve mentioned this. Next week we will have Elliot on the show. Elliot Alvis, he'll be back. And one of the things we will be talking about is we're going to go car shopping for Greg. You know, he wants a sports car. He has a certain budget. Elliot has a certain level of expertise in, say, whether or not, you know, cars as investments kind of a thing. Not that you should treat the car like an investment, but it would be cool to get an awesome car. And in 5 years down the line, it's appreciated by 20, 30, 40%, you know,
Right.
as an asset.
Exactly.
It's one of those things. You buy a home, right? It's like another thing. It's like you buy a home and you live in it, but it's also nice if it goes up in value, right? It's just a rainy day type of a thing.
Exactly.
But imagine,
It'd be
even
nice
if
to
you could get like
have a cool sports car
five-
for the channel, and you don't lose money on it. That would be a nice thing, and also
I mean, as far at the end of the day, we are a business.
YouTube stuff.
At the end of the day, we are a business.
Right,
So like,
exactly.
if we can start thinking in the sense of like, let's buy this car, we don't have to do too much to it. Kind of the early DDE mindset of wheels, tires, and exhaust. Make content.
Yeah.
And as long as you're
Right.
rolling that stuff over, it doesn't get stale.
Sean,
And
I would love to roll up in a Cayman GT4. That would be utterly fantastic, but none of us have $100,000 lying around.
you know, but imagine, I don't know what you could get, but I'm just assuming as a damn near finished build, we're just waiting for an engine. Like, imagine what you could do with an extra 5K. You know, if the budget
Right.
goes from 40 to 45K or something. And I'm not telling you
Right.
to sell the car, because I do honestly think that thing, when it's done, and let's just say if it's in Arizona, that's a road trip I'm willing to make to go get your car.
Yeah, hell yeah. Same. I would love to fly out there and drive it home. I think that'd be awesome.
I'd love to drive the Mustang out there to go pick it up.
That would be cool, but I can't have that kind of time suck. However, I would be very down for that because
I mean,
I know
or
that,
we just
your
do the
car rides
typical
very
thing
nicely.
is you just ship Hanson and I out to states unknown and we bring you a car back.
Yeah, I'm done with that. I want to pick up this damn car next time. Whatever car we get, I'm fucking going this time. I love you guys, but screw you guys. It's my time, damn it.
But even so, like it still would be kind of cool to like that. Like, I love that idea. And again, the car is a cool thing. Is it something that me personally, from what I like in cars, and we were talking about this when you were away, Is it something where I would look at it and be like, man, Greg just needs to hold on to that thing forever? No, I don't think that.
Yeah.
But I would also sit here and think it's a cool way of getting 3-6 months worth of really good content.
Yeah. And that was the whole point of the car. Like, have it built and then bring it back, drive it for a year. If I liked it, cool, sell it, keep it. Or if I didn't, cool, sell it. And honestly, with that thing built up, and if it's done properly, like it's still worth 10 grand. Like, and that's like, I know I'm gonna lose money on it. Like, that was part of what I was talking about when you were gone too. Like, I know I'm going to lose money on it at this point. Like, I don't care. It's not like I'm going to get it built and then be like, oh yeah, it's going to sell for 20, 30K immediately. That's not a reality. It'll be a well-built car, on a conglomerated car that has no rust, which is awesome. And with the proper upgrades, a well done build, turboed, period correct stuff that, for the right buyer, that's a between $10,000 and $15,000 car, which is cool. And then if I have a certain amount saved up, but $10,000 and $15,000 sold, that's a good chunk of change towards something else. So, you could get content with it, and then if you like it, keep it, and then use it for more content to build more capital and yada yada yada. And it continues. Doug, thank you for another 100 stars to make the 240 builds profitable. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
But like, no, it's just it's a cool concept, and like, not for nothing, it's got V70R brakes, upgraded suspension. So in theory,
yeah.
Even as it sits, someone could look at that and be like, and I don't say this to, typically I bring this engine up to kind of troll Doug, but just because it's something that I know would instantly fit. But even someone who looks at it and goes, yeah, I don't really care about the red block or anything. That's kind of cool or whatever. But I could put a junkyard LS in it, make 400 horsepower, and it's ready to go, and it can handle it, and it has the supporting mods to do it. Like, it's a cool concept.
And
like, honestly,
and it has a kit, because there are countless hundreds of them with LSs in them now. So like,
right. And I wasn't saying LS just, again, to be paying into no LS.
Doug gives 100 stars for no LS. Attaboy. That's great.
But the point I'm making is LS K swap.
Yes.
Like, if someone really wanted to, you could go to the 2J route. Like, there's just a bunch of different options.
Yeah.
In a car that is theoretically suitable to handle 400 to 500 horsepower, whether the engine you put in it is making that or not, it's options. So like, for me, I'm the type of guy, like, I go and I shop for cars that I can't afford and I'm not looking to buy anytime soon, but I know what I'm looking for. And if I was like, hey, a 240 wagon, hey, they got the paint, they got the interior, they got the brakes, they got the suspension. That engine over there is okay. That's kind of cool, but like, I like it because I'm not beholden to an engine. It could be, the problem with, like, you could throw a Coyote in it, even though you'd probably have to do a lot of fabrication to kind of cut up the engine bay, but you'd have money to do that because you don't have to do the suspension work. I mean, I get that spring rates and stuff, different weights of engines and all that other sort of stuff would have to be sorted. But it's a great blank slate for someone who's like, there could be some.
And that LS wouldn't be for us, Doug. It could be for sort of someone else. They're like, oh, well, if I didn't like it and I want to sell it, well, it's a great platform. And I think what Chad is saying, like, it's a great start for someone that would be like, oh, I do want to LS swap that, or I do want a different engine. Like, it's got all the supporting mods for it. You want a 500 horsepower 240? Well, it's got the brakes to stop it now. It's got the suspension to deal with that. All you need is an engine and a better trans, which at that point, go for it.
Yeah.
Steve sends 100 stars for an LS. I love the battle. I love that it's just a big dick swinging contest. No, LS. Yes. No. Yes. No.
But I mean,
so good.
I'm just saying, that 240 in Magic Blurple or whatever the fuck it's called. With
Magic Blue and paint code 467.
With
Ask me how I know.
burnt pumpkin interior, whatever the code actually is. I'm saying that'll look good on Doug's farm. He's got a lot of engines lying around.
Yes. Doug, thank you. 1,000 stars for LS is boring. I mean, as a swap, it's overdone, but a big rumbling V8 is never boring. Oh my god, you guys are so funny.
I mean, Doug after tonight is getting close to actually buying the 240. I'm just saying.
I was just gonna say, awesome. Doug, you sent enough stars. That 240 is yours, brother.
I can hear his wheels. I can literally. We're 2.5 hours away, and I can hear the wheels turning.
I already offered the green one. He said I can't take another one. Anyway, that's the 240 news. Let's move on. I'll keep you guys posted. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm gonna reach out to Jesse. Anthony LS, another 1,000 stars. Oh man,
Christ,
Doug,
guys,
Doug drinking wine is going to be the most profitable night we've ever had.
I mean, now definitely I'm gonna send him a nice bottle of wine. Like,
yeah, we gotta send you a nice Opus One.
Oh my gosh,
great! You guys are hilarious. Oh my god,
I can't.
Oh my god. Anyway, I can promise that we will not be putting an LS in the 240.
Yes, it'll be an LT.
Yes, it'll be an LT4.
No, but that piqued my interest to where, like, what would we put it? And honestly, and I'm not saying this to placate Steve or whatever, but honestly, the best option for that, just for aftermarket support and power and everything, is
K-swap.
K-swap it.
Oh, totally.
K-swap with a turbo, 420-ish wheel horsepower. You know, they bolt up to K CD009, and some like a good limited slip diff out of pick a Nissan.
Yeah,
would be an awesome swap. I still like the idea of it having a white block. That would be an awesome.
I think a white block would be very cool.
But I don't know. Well, I guess to make a case fit, you'd have to make custom engine mounts, like all that other sort of stuff.
So I found a thread on Turbo Bricks that actually outlines literally everything you need to do to white block swap it, and it's definitely intensive, but it's not out of the question.
Right, and I mean, no, but just the sound would be cool. But I mean, at that point, I don't know. I still think you should get a Lotus Exige and white block swap that, but.
I mean, that would be very cool too, but I don't have a spare 100K lying around.
Damn you.
Yeah. I am playing the lottery weekly, though. I'm trying.
I need to do that, because, like, I have literally planned out.
I'm just hucking $10 a week at it. Let's see what happens.
Trying to go discount mullet option, blown Chevy 4.3. I mean,
interesting.
So here's the thing.
Not an LS.
No, well, it's a Chevy small block with 2 cylinders lopped off. A 350 specifically. 2J Swede. I mean,
that's good. Excellent custom plate, by the way.
But here's the thing. If Greg was to go the 4.3 route, which I am a supporter of, at that point, I'd want him to also go out to a junkyard, find an Astro van, and make the fucker all-wheel drive. And have whatever, and I'm sure Doug knows this, but have what, and then we call it whatever Swedish for typhoon is.
Because that's true. It would be like the Swedish typhoon. That's true. Oh, that's good. 4.3 Vortec turbo. I mean, sure. Again, stars.
Right. Well, now we're talking. Now we're talking
millions of those.
Now we're talking about the Chevy's General Motors Barra it's cool
Yeah,
straight six engine.
pretty
There's
much.
a dude out there playing with them that getting pretty impressive horsepower out of them. But no, I think the 4.3 with the all-wheel drive is what you should do.
Honestly, if I'm throwing a 4.3 in there, I'm gonna find a junkyard Vantage and rip the engine out of that thing and put it in there. Just because,
I mean,
as someone who's owned that engine, it sounds fucking epic. It sounds so good.
yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
mean, lots of V8 sound good, but like a
no,
that
you're
4.3
right,
in
Sean.
particular sounds really good.
more stars than Steve. Jesus.
Doug, put down the wine.
And then Anthony goes 200 stars, 12 valve as a second option. Well, what about the 4BT,
Yes.
Anthony? What if we did that? Because that's a slightly smaller engine. It would probably be easier to fit. And
True.
I've been
is very
on our
true.
back end trying to do, because I genuinely want to see where, like, the stars total and stuff, and I can't find it, and it's driving me nuts.
So I can tell you, if you go to if you go in are you in Business Suite?
Yeah.
You go to Business Suite, you go to Live Dashboard. It's under Engage Audience, the left-hand column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down.
See, I don't have that button. I don't have an engage audience button.
Oh no. So you're in business.facebook.com.
Yeah.
All right. So under the left column where it says home notifications, inbox, blah blah blah, go down to all tools, the hamburger menu.
Yep.
Then it should pop up or just click that. And it should pop up with some different categories here: engage audience, manage, advertise, analyze, and support. Under engage audience, you go down to live dashboard, click that, and that will tell you, and that will show you, just like the back end where you can go to like the live producer and stuff like that.
Nice. There it is. Fantastic.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's not tabulating correct because I think Doug broke it by throwing like a bajillion stars at it. So it says $16.90 of 1,690 stars, and I'm 100% positive that is not the correct amount because Doug just threw like 3,000 of them at us, and I'm like, yeah, that's not right yet. Which, by the way, Doug, thank you.
Yes.
Many hugs.
Yeah, that's so insane. Thank you, guys.
You guys are nuts. We'll get this thing built. Like, just for you guys, just for the supporters. I'm determined to get this freaking 240 on the road. $30 makes you feel rich. Yes, it does. Because that's like several 240 parts.
And now it's only like it's $30 less to ship it to Tucson or wherever you were gonna send it.
That's true. I mean, I gotta talk to that guy, but yeah, I mean, look, it's $30 here from Doug, it's $1 here, blah 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 from Steve and Anthony and everyone else that's sending. Like, but like again, you guys donating is a huge help. But you don't have to do that, and I appreciate that you do that just because you appreciate us, and that makes, again, from the bottom of our hearts, that like it means a lot that you guys do support that. Like that plus the subscription money plus the money we make on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and yada yada, it all adds up. And it's also a business expense too. So like we take that, like that doesn't go into our pockets. It literally goes back into the business. Like, why do you think I have this microphone now? Why do you think I have this laptop? Why do you think Chad has a new desktop to be able to stream better to you guys? It's because of that stuff. So we appreciate it so much more than you can even understand. So it is very cool to see that, and very awesome that you guys are our fans and friends at this point too. So thank you guys so much. But without getting too sappy, I will. I'm bound and determined to get that car on the freaking road, just because because it deserves it at this point.
Yeah.
So that's I've been a 15-month subscriber. Time flies. Yeah, that's crazy. I can't believe we've been doing this for a long time now. We've been doing this for like over 2 years. I think he's coming up on, is it 3 years now we've been doing this?
Yeah,
Or is it two?
two-ish,
I think two, right?
something like that. Yeah, it's probably. I mean, probably easy to go back and look,
Yeah,
but
we can figure it out.
that's boring.
Anthony, is it the $30 or the friends we made along the way? Um, it's the $30. Now it's the friends.
It's the friends that along the way that the $30 allowed us. No, I'm kidding. It's all. Let me let me. I'll put it to you this way, as far as like the stars talk, and then we can move on to something else. The fact that we have a steady group of people to just hang out with when we do these things is awesome.
Yes, that's the biggest thing.
As far as you guys donating, that is legendary. Like words, I can't put into words what that means for us. Um, it's just an awesome vibe, an awesome time. It's a great community, and that's when we started this. What we wanted to build. So, thank you to guys, supporters. If you've donated stars, any of our I think it lapsed, but any member, we used to have members over on YouTube. All that stuff. It helps. Is it by any way going to, let's just say buy Greg a Koenigsegg? No, but that's not the point. It's just awesome that you guys are willing to show your support to us and everything, and that means a crap ton. Because even when we started doing shifting lanes, I didn't really think we'd ever be at a point where people would watch. Sure, people actually giving us money directly. Nah, so you guys are legends. Thank you so much. And then, like Steve, like I was talking about, I still want to do some form of meetup, maybe tail end of next month or something like that. But I've just been sick to where it hasn't really been something I wanted to think too hard and long about.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying I
I
don't
would
want
say
to.
more towards the, I would say, at least for me, more towards the end of March, just because I know my job is going to be insane from February or from now through March 15th, which is like the next big date that we're trying to hit. After that, there's nothing until like Q3. So maybe we can plan something for end of March, which I think would be very cool. If you guys can't, and end of month or February works better, and only Chad can go, that's cool too. But
Well, I think at the end
um,
of February, we'll just make it in such a fashion to where we just the meetup will literally just be wherever you are, and we just harass you.
I'm okay with that. That sounds good
But
to me.
all right, Greg, why don't you start with the next
Yes.
news topic? I'm actually
Cool.
gonna step aside real quick again. I'll be right back. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, why don't you get us rolling on that one and enjoy the sultry sounds of Greg's and Mate. Now on the five.
Yes. So, with that being said, really quick to Steve's thing. You guys have been awesome, and how you guys were caring about my last year struggles, sticking around for a while. Of course, man. We want to make sure that not only like you guys like what we're doing, but we want to be involved in what you're doing too, and you know, being there to help give advice and just be there for you to talk to and be an outlet like that. That means a lot to us too. So I'm glad we could help you through it and be here for you, man. So appreciate that, and thanks for reciprocating and hanging out too. And Sean, if it can be a weekend, I should be able to make it. Yeah, that would be ideal for a meetup, just because weekends are just better for everyone in general, especially me too. There's no chance in hell that I'd be able to do a weekday meet with my job the way it is. So it would for sure be a weekend kind of thing. If I was going to be involved there, I can't commit to a weekday. There's no way. Plus, again, everyone's got a job. Most people got a job and everything. So, weekend definitely is better. So, with that said, let's go into the next news topic. The next news topic is something that I'm actually putting a short form content out about right after this stream on all our platforms. It is about Toyota. And Toyota short form content and Toyota in general has just done very well for us. I did one about Toyota's V8 engine being quite possibly the most reliable V8 engine ever made, which there's a lot of evidence behind that. The 1UZ, specifically, also the 2UZ as well. But with that being said, Toyota is in a little bit of hot water. I know this came up a couple of years ago, which I'll hint on in now and also in the short form content thing. But on Tuesday, one of Toyota's group's plants, engine plants, was like raided by authorities in Japan because of their cheating on engine testing. And I'm going to read some of this article because it summarizes it a lot better. Japanese transport officials raided a Toyota affiliated plant Tuesday after the company admitted to cheating on engine testing, as Toyota Motor Corp reported it sold over 11 million vehicles in 2023 to retain its status as the top car manufacturer. Hours after the probe began at Toyota Industries Corp plant in Hekinan, Aichi Prefecture in central Japan, Toyota chair Akio Toyoda vowed to steer the company out of scandal and ensure the Japanese automakers group companies stick to making good cars. Now, with that being said, it wasn't specifically Toyota that was doing this. It was two different arms of Toyota that Toyota owns. This is what it says. Testing scandal comes at a time of otherwise stellar performance for Toyota, which makes the Camry sedan, obviously these other things, whatever. The thing is, in April of 2023, a whistleblower exposed that Daihatsu Motor Corporation, which Toyota owns 100% of, literally it owns the company, they had been cheating on its engine testing for decades. And testing could be anything from emissions to different tolerances and what have you. So there's a lot of leeway here. Mostly this centers around emissions, but there are some other components to it. And then again in 2022, before that, Hino Motors, which is a truck maker that also is part of the Toyota group, said that it had systematically falsified emissions data dating as far back as 2003. So, that being said, the authorities in Japan, they raided this engine manufacturing facility. It is Toyota affiliated. So basically Toyota had to go in apologies, and you can actually see around the internet where one of the chairs of Toyota, what's his name? It's actually here. Hang on. Koji Sato. So Koji Sato, you can see him in front of a bunch of reporters, basically bowing and apologizing to the world, saying, we're going to do better. This is not something that is in Toyota's ethos. So it's one of those things where, of all the companies that you would think of cheating on emissions or cheating on engine in any way, Toyota would be one of the last companies you'd think of. And this just goes to show that it happens to literally everyone, and no one is to be 100% trusted in certain aspects, because companies just try to get around things. Again, this is not just Toyota going into, the Camry and trying to, cheat emissions testing. Daihatsu Motors is a very small company. We had Daihatsus here in the US for a little while, I think. I forget if that was a thing, but I believe that they had a couple of cars here for a little while. But Hino Motors, we've never had that. But again, it's a part of Toyota. It's an arm of Toyota. So Toyota is responsible at the end of the day for the companies they own, right? They have their own board, and they have their own directors and what have you. They have their own, emissions stuff. They have their own set of rules and regulations. But at the end of the day, they're owned by someone. So, like, for example, my company that I work for on the day-to-day basis, it's called FCB Cure, which is an advertising company that works with pharmaceutical companies. It's a pharmaceutical ad agency, right? Marketing agency. We are owned, or my company is owned by IPG, which is a very large conglomerate of marketing and advertising firms. So if something were to go wrong in my company, like drastically, then obviously my company would be responsible for sure. but IPG won answering for it. And this is that same scenario here. So it's not a great scenario for Toyota. It's not the worst, but they've already gone out of their way to apologize for it. They've acknowledged that it's happening. Um, and they said they're going to rectify the situation. But when you see a headline of Toyota affiliated plant raided by the authorities, it's a pretty big deal. I don't know if Chad's back, but it is. I want to get his take on this too. To me, this is it's interesting timing because one, Toyota just got crowned the total sales winner again last year, which doesn't make, it's not all that surprising. It's usually between Toyota and Volkswagen Auto Group for total sales across the world. Those are the two that sell the most worldwide most of the time, at least in the last 5-10 years. Um, uh, um, but it also is interesting timing because they did also just get hit with another Takata airbag thing, which is also outlined in this. So some of the older models that just weren't identified yet, about 61,000 older cars. So in the Corolla, Matrix, RAV4, and Pontiac Vibe, which if you didn't know, Pontiac Vibe is really just a Toyota Matrix with a Pontiac logo on it. It's literally the same freaking car. They have Takata airbags in it and are at risk of exploding and hurling shrapnel at you. So we all know about the Takata airbag recalls. These are more that just got flagged and they weren't known about. And these are cars that are from like these are at this point, it's weird to say this, old cars, especially in the Takata airbag recall sense, because that has been going on for the better part of 15 plus years, right? These cars are from 2003 to like 2005. So at this point, not being identified in that, it has been way too long for these cars to be on the road and not identified. And there's like 61,000 cars is not an insignificant amount of cars between all of those models. So to say that you're just identifying these cars after all of this time, it is, to me, it's inconceivable with a company like Toyota to have the resources that they do and not know about these cars until now seems a bit suspect to me. But it also goes back to say what I was talking about. Like, you can't trust every car manufacturer on every single level all of the time. There are too many factors at play. Is it is inconceivable that those manufacturers are going to have their hands in every aspect of it all of the time. It's an impossible task. The companies are just too big to be able to regulate internally with 50, 100,000, 200,000 workers. Like it's impossible. You have to trust the system at that point. So let's see what you guys are saying about this, because it's not great. It's not a good look. Um, let's see. Scrolling back up. Also, yeah, Christian McGraw, where you at? Come on. Steve says still love Toyota. Let's see. Doug, everyone but car people in sales. So I need a new job. Oh, that's based on the last thing you were talking about. Let's see. Yeah, so Anthony says seems like everyone is getting caught cheating the sniff test. Yeah, that's I think, and again, I think that goes back to a lot of what regulations are trying to be pushed with all of these CAFE standards and emissions testing and MPGs. Over the long term, they're all trying to get a leg up in any way they can, just to continue to be a part of the overall scheme of things. Because again, with all of this regulation, they have to sort of try to get legs up somewhere, and I think that's probably their mentality, and it's not the best mentality to have. Steve, I still love Toyota. So do I. I'm a big Toyota fan. Honestly, I will be 100% transparent with you guys. My wife's XC90 is getting a little old, in the sense that it's at 91,000 miles. It's not old in the sense of me being a car enthusiast. I think it's got another 200,000 miles on it easily. The car's been pretty flawless for us. But if we want to get max value for it, 6 digits in the mileage column still scares a lot of people. And to get some value out of it between, 13 to $15,000 as a potential trade-in, or as a selling and then using that money as a down payment for a next car. Now is the time to kind of do that, or at least in the next like 5 to 6 months. So we're looking at one of two cars, the Hyundai Santa Fe and the Hyundai Palisade. It's going to be one of those two. But I say that because once that happened, I would literally consider selling this for a RAV4. This car is awesome. I love it very much. But, uh, you know, these cars are very reliable. However, a RAV4, or sorry, not a RAV4. Did I say a RAV4? 4Runner. 4Runner, not a RAV4. 4Runner is what I was, thank you, Steve. Yes, 4Runner is what I was talking about. Not a RAV4, if I did say that. I would sell this to get a 4Runner. I have traveled in a 4Runner before with Chad, actually, to a NASCAR race that Toyota put us up for, which was very cool.
Vroom, vroom,
It's a great,
motherfucker.
that's right. It's a great SUV. It has a V6 that is old as dirt and will run as long as dirt exists on planet Earth. And they have 100,000 mile ones on CarMax with a warranty to 150,000 miles, just because they know how reliable they are. So I would consider selling this for a 4Runner, and then getting, capital to then roll into a, what's it called, sports car. So I do love Toyota too. I would also consider a Toyota sports car as well. It's just a good company overall. So despite this news, I still do love Toyota. Um, Steve goes, I definitely hope I make it to Carlisle this year. I'm pretty sure my lawsuit begins this May against my old job. Oh, wow. Did not realize that you were doing a lawsuit. Good luck with that, my friend. We're here for you. If you need, if you need anything, let us know. Steve, also, I see that you're calling it. You have to get up later. Thank you so much for all the support, the stars, and hanging out with us. We'll see you again next week, brother. Good luck with your job tomorrow, and go get some rest. Sean saying gonna have some awkward sideways glances at Toyota Thon, which is just a great, which is just a great comment, by the way. Steve had gone. I almost bought a Daihatsu a decade ago. Anthony goes Daihatsu, Charade, and Rocky that I can think of. Yeah, I think those are the two that I could think of, but I could not remember the names of them for the life of me. Let's see what else we got here. Oh no, everything's re-ragging. Pontiac Vibe. Doug goes, Pontiac Vibe got lower scores than the Toyota Matrix on Consumer Reports. That was when I realized it was all a scam. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Consumer Reports that's a whole other topic of conversation, but Consumer Reports is one of those things that you have to take with a grain of salt, because there have been several instances of um, known uh, known scametry going on at Consumer Reports, and sort of a pay to play scenario. So take that with a grain of salt, with what you will. Um, but yeah, and Anthony goes pay to play, Doug, just like JD Power. Same thing, JD Power. And the one thing that, and I'll end it here really quick, and then I think we're going to start wrapping up in like 5 or 10 minutes or so. JD Power uh, gave best initial quality to Chevy for a long time, and I'm like, really? What does initial quality mean? And initial quality, as defined by JD Power, is the total amount of complaints it has within the first 90 days. And I'm like, well, that's like nothing for every car manufacturer. So how did Chevy rise at the top of the list? And that was when I realized, oh, it's a total scam. They probably paid for that, because it's with this veil of, oh, it's so much credibility, but it really means absolutely nothing. It really does. And if you dig into it, it's absolute garbage. And I mean, I'd love to get back into writing, in the sense that I would love to just do a deep dive on how much of a scam JD Power is, for
Didn't you
sure.
actually write an article on that once?
I did, but it wasn't as in depth as I wanted to.
Gotcha.
Wanted it to be. I think we did it right when we started with Drive Tribe a long time ago. I may have to resurrect that because I would love to do like a real journalistic endeavor into why JD Power is an absolute trash heap of a scam. We could do the same thing for Consumer Reports, but they do give good ratings at least that we could use for some of our videos. So I won't bash them too bad, but do take it with a grain of salt. So, really quick, I want to get your take on this Toyota news really quick. I need to just step into the kitchen really quick and I'll be right back. But
You get in the
what
kitchen.
is I'm gonna I'm gonna go make me a sandwich. I'm gonna keep listening in so I can have an opinion on what you're saying. But based on this news of like Toyota getting raided, some of their ancillary companies cheating on testing, what is your overall thought on this?
It's corporate. It's the corporate world. When you start to have, look, at the end of the day, the buck stops with the name on the document, right? So let's just say hypothetically Shifting Lanes was a much larger company and we had subsidiaries under us. Eventually, the buck would stop with us. How hard is it? And you hope that you have people in place to where you don't, at the top, have to be so hands-on with every goings-on with every single one of your businesses, entities, etc. As far as Toyota being rated, I mean, I think that's a bit of a... I think technically that is correct as far as the headline is concerned. Is it a bit of a misnomer in the fact that were they raided? Because like when I picture raided, I'm just thinking of that scene in like Fast and the Furious when they're all in riot gear, in tactical gear, and they're just raiding the one dude's house while he's sitting down to dinner with his family. Was it that, or was it just officials showed up unannounced, with some support just to make sure, right? But look, everybody is trying to find that balance. It's like finding an engine that makes a crap ton of horsepower, but is also fuel efficient. It's trying to, and you can see it. You might get the power you want for advertising and whatever, or just sit here and say that, hey, we at Daihatsu, whatever, make this car, it makes this power. It's a little bit more than our competition, and we get better fuel mileage, like all this other sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, everybody's towing that engineering line of being barely legal, so to speak. And I know that's probably a wrong turn of phrase, but right on the cusp of being illegal. Whether it be from hey, to make this stuff what we want, it's going to cost us a fortune. Or we could spend half the money and be very close to this level. I think it happens everywhere. Whether other companies are just better with their QC or they're better at replicating tests or whatever. I think all of this stuff has happened, and it continued to happen for pretty much ever since regulation became a thing in automobiles. It's just everybody's become hypersensitive to it because of Dieselgate and Volkswagen, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So now when all of a sudden pick a manufacturer, whether it be a subsidiary or themselves, saying, hey, they got caught cheating, well, yes, but it's not like... It's all sensationalist to make it feel like Volkswagen when it's not even close. And that's kind of the thought of it. I think, look, when you're a multinational, multi-brand company, that is so many moving parts that every now and again something's going to slip through the cracks. Right? Like Toyota's the first or second largest auto manufacturer in the world, and they have X amount of brands underneath them. It's just like every single car that rolls off the production line. Not every single car is going to be 100%. It might be 999 out of 1,000, but you still have a non-zero chance that a car is not going to be as intended. So,
Sure.
look, are you blatantly cheating in this case? Looks like they were trying to skirt around some of the regulation, which I don't really have. If you're willfully doing stuff like that, that's one thing. You should, and then it should be on the manufacturer to fix it and take care of it for how many, just like a recall, right? If it's something where it's a lapse in QC, you should still have to fix it, but it's not willful.
Yeah.
It's it's not like they're out here like, I don't know. I mean, I'll just kind of leave it with this stuff kind of happens. If you're willfully doing it, you deserve the bad press that goes along with it. But
Yeah.
on the flip side, journalists are, just like willfully cheating. So your car actually cheats an emissions test. Let's say your engine, willfully doing that, and then the sensationalism that comes with modern journalism you're not fixing the issue. You're making the issue worse. The journalist is going for clicks. You're going for less expense or whatever the reason is. It's just
right.
So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they'll eventually fix it. Will it hurt Toyota? Yes, in a very small way. But they're Toyota. They'll recover and they'll move on.
Right. I think the biggest takeaway there is people still buy Volkswagens by the truckload. So it's not like
Volkswagen's
it's
still
not like
right there with Toyota as being the biggest auto manufacturer in the world. Dieselgate didn't.
And I mentioned that. It's usually between Toyota and VAG as the two biggest. So Dieselgate maybe hurt in the short term, maybe smeared the name a little bit, but overall really didn't do much.
Oh no, I'm going to continue never buying a Daihatsu.
Yeah, correct. Or a Hino Motors truck, which I didn't even know existed until today. So,
well, there you go. You got educated out of the whole deal, so
yeah.
that's got to be a win.
Yes, I learned something today, and learning something is wonderful. Now that I'm 40 or about to be 40,
yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy learning now, so that's good.
And I think that's a perfect place to say
yes.
Goodbye. Thank you again to everyone who tuned in, to all of our supporters,
yes,
to everyone who donated stars, yes. To Doug. Your pallet of wine should be arriving shortly. Investing stonks.
Stonks.
But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much for everything. We'll be in touch, and again next week we'll see you. We will have Elliot on the show. I will be posting something in the supporter group, kind of the parameters for Greg's car search, so you guys can have some ideas to kind of present. And then, but yeah, next week we go car shopping with Greg and Elliot. So thanks again, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Yes, thank you guys